See you soon. He's in there?
Now it's a done deal.
Hey, good. Let's go. There you go. Let's go. Ready. Let's go. I'm gonna go this thing for you. Yes, sir. I'm gonna go this thing for you, man. Let's go. Let's go win. Got it? I got you.
Welcome back to Two Birds, One Stone, brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. The action never ends at DraftKings Sportsbook, especially this summer. With tons of ways to bet on all your favorite sports, you can fuel your fandom and feel the heat of the season like never before. Plus, right now, DraftKings Sportsbook is giving new customers a risk-free bet up to $100. That's right. Make your first bet up to $1,000. If it doesn't win, you'll get another shot to cash in. You can throw down on all the major action for baseball, golf, MMA, and more. Plus, with same-game parlays, spreads, money lines, over-unders, and props, your betting options feel endless. Isn't John Bones Jones coming back, MMA? Who's he fighting?
That's right. Cyril Gahn, I think. I might be butchering that, but it's in March.
Well, there you go. Bet on that. Bet on that in March 4th, I believe.
Yeah.
Best of all, DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. You can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TPPN. Make your first deposit and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Use promo code TPPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. The Arizona Cardinals have a new head coach after 36 days. Is that what it was? And after the Super Bowl, our last episode, I was like, oh, we'll do a Super Bowl preview show, and we'll talk about the head coach hiring whenever that is. Turns out it was after the Super Bowl. So now we have a Super Bowl recap show and the head coach announcement. Super Bowl losing defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, is the Arizona Cardinals head coach in 2023 and heading forward. What are your initial thoughts? We talked about all the possible coaches we wanted on our listing. I don't think his name ever came up. Not to say it's a bad thing, because that was a long time ago when we did that episode. Lots of names that came in and out since then. We kind of had a feeling for a little bit that this might be a possibility. But what are your thoughts about the hire?
Mixed feelings, of course. I feel like a lot of, at least just on Twitter, a lot of Cardinals fans kind of feel the same way. You see the clip of, which I'm sure we'll get into it, of him meeting Kyler.
That's actually
today.
We just watched that led the episode, but yeah,
Right. We just watched it.
Yes.
Right. I mean, he fucking drops his bag. He runs to go meet him. He's enthusiastic, clapping as he gets in the weight room. That's a pro. He looks like he's excited to be there. He's pumped. Kyler looks like he's happy to see him. But then you also see, which this could also be recency bias, but you see the outpour of Philly fans who were joyful that he's gone. And I think that's just because what happened in the Super Bowl mostly.
But you got to take Philly all that with a grain of salt. Anytime it's Philly, they're fucking insane. So
overall, I guess I'm happy with it. I did a little recon. Again, we didn't really see this coming up until, I guess, the first kind of mention I heard about it was, I don't know, about a week ago. Whenever it got serious.
Probably been a week ago, week and a half. I mean, maybe even 2 weeks. I know Benjamin Allbright's been on it for a while. It was just that. So I guess to break it down, the Cardinals, after we had our last episode, it was right after Monty gets hired, the GM.
Right.
And when Monty was hired, it was already after those initial head coach interviews cycles was kind of going through. And we'll get into this, but this is Monty Ossenford and Jonathan Gannon have a relationship. And Monty Ossenford, before he was even hired as a Cardinals GM about 10, 12 months ago, kind of foresaw the writing on the wall, seeing that him getting a job was kind of a possibility. He put together a list of like 10 to 12 guys that he had his eye on to be his head coach if he were to take a GM job. He had Jonathan Gannon, obviously, was on there, Aaron Glenn, Detroit Lions, and Brian Callahan, Cincinnati Bengals. All three of those were interviewed by the Cardinals. I think Aaron Glenn was scheduled for a second. It seemed like Austin Fort really led this kind of cycle, and Michael
Yeah.
Bidwell kind of like let him take the reins. So reason the Cardinals it was kind of late is because after that first cycle, excuse me, sorry about that. Gannon was already in the playoffs. They had won a game. They had to wait. So due to rules and restrictions and all that shit, they weren't finally able to meet up until after the Super Bowl. They meet Monday, Tuesday. They're signing the contract, and he's our head coach. So as much as it seemed kind of under the wraps, it was kind of right there in front of you. It was kind of said the whole time that they had a relationship, and he was kind of a sneaky candidate. But he got the job. And I guess what are you like? What was the guy? I mean, seemed like it was down to Lou Anarumo, who last episode I had no idea how to pronounce his name. Since then, I became the biggest Lou fan, Team Lou guy. I loved his interviews. I loved social clips Bengals put out. His players loved him. NFL execs talked him up. He's an older guy, like 56. Like it just seemed like a guy that's been around the league. He's been coaching for like 30 years, 12 in the NFL. Like I just wanted an experienced, like man's man leader type guy, and that's what it seemed like Lou was. So unfortunately, he didn't get the job. But it would be dumb for us to sit here and be like, "Well, my guy didn't get hired. I'm disappointed. My guy might have sucked, and Gannon might be great." It's so dumb. You see tweets like "grade this higher." How do you feel, Cardinals fans? I mean, everybody kind of had their favorite or whatever, but to act like it's a bad or good hire right now here in fucking February is ridiculous. We'll just have to wait and see how it happens. I always just think that's funny. Say
I
like when they
agree.
do draft grades in
Yeah.
April, right after the draft, like
Yeah.
it just doesn't make
Yeah.
any.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've talked about it before. I don't know if we talked about it on here, but I've purposely not invested any real research time into these coaches, excluding obviously Jonathan Gannon, who just got hired. It was until after the fact I did that because I think it was probably after Flores. It was came out that he wasn't going to take the job. He was who I really wanted. And I didn't want to get super latched on to one coach, kind of like you did with Lou, and then get let down and then just kind of be automatically pissed and put a damper to whatever coach gets hired at the start of their career for me personally. So I was a lot more just kind of blind eye, just let it all happen. I'll deal with whatever happens at the end, which is kind of what I'm doing now. I'm still just kind of impartial. Again, we ride with who we got. He's who we got for the next, at least contracted for the next 5 years. I see a lot of good things. It seems like in his history, he's been like more of a defensive back specialist. I think he was a DB coach for the Vikings at a point. I think he's a DB coach for I forget. There was I think 2 or 3 teams he was like a DB
Maybe the
coach
Vikings.
for.
I didn't know past that.
And so, and our secondary is a big point of our team that needs help. It's a big emphasis. So I think automatically that alone will show promise. But if you look at all the stops he's made so far where he's had prominent roles, his defensives have only shown improvement. They've never gotten worse. They've only gotten better. So just with that track record, and that's a 10-year track record throughout, I think probably 4 or 5 different teams. Just with that track record, I mean, you have to be happy. Obviously, recency bias. You see what happened to the greatest quarterback of all time, Patrick Mahomes, which we'll get into later in the Super Bowl. But it's something that I think we're going to be okay. I think it's a solid choice. It's not anybody's first choice, I don't think, but I think he's a solid option.
I think the 5 years is a big. Well, you could say it's a big deal. It's what Cliff got initially or whatever. But biggest thing is just see it through. Let it play out.
Yeah.
There might be a bad year or two to start off. I mean, we're starting. We got a little bit to work with. There's reason to be hopeful that it can be a fast turnaround, but give a guy a few years now. I mean, Wilkes got 1 year, Cliff got 4. Great. Still didn't see that first contract all the way through. He got the extension, but I think his first contract was for 5 years. So just see it through. Give him a chance. Let's everybody not get too overreactionary. But I think, like you said, he did He's been in the league, I think, for 12 years, something like that. Only 2 as a DC. There was a story that was reported on NFL Network. Howie Roseman, Eagles GM, that's his name.
Yeah.
First training camp, he's of Gannon being the defense coordinator. Roseman is being talked to by a reporter as they're walking by Gannon doing a press conference at the podium or whatever, and he stops and he points at Gannon. He's like, "That guy right there, he's a badass. That guy's gonna be a big guy in this league." Before he ever even called a defensive play, Roseman knew that he was going to be a head coach. After that first year, last year, Houston, he went deep into interview talks with them. They ultimately went, I guess, with Lovie Smith, brought him back. That didn't quite work out. Comes back another year, Eagles, I think the number 2 overall scoring defense. They were number 2 in yards allowed per game, fewest passing yards per game, 70 sacks, third most all time, only behind the 85 Bears and the 89 Vikings. 85 Bears to be on a short list with them. That's crazy. 4 different players with at least 10 sacks. And he's kind of known for preventing the big play. Like I said, he's a D-backs coach, but obviously 7 sacks, creating pressure, and then keeping the ball in front of you. So being creative with different blitz packages and playing soft, having your corners, no deep shots. So we're going to be aggressive up front and careful in the back end. And I mean, it worked for the Eagles. And to act like the Super Bowl and losing to Patrick Mahomes is anything to hang your head about. D'Amico Ryans let up 44 against the Chiefs earlier this year. There's not anything to be said about one game, last game of the year, especially against Patrick Mahomes.
And to kind of back that point, look at Kyle Shanahan. The last year, who did he coach for before he was
the Falcons? It was the Falcons. 28
the Falcons.
Super Bowl.
Yeah. He was the DC, and then he got the head coaching gig right after. He was a OC, and then right after that, he got the job after. So just getting blown out in the Super Bowl. It's okay. It's okay. To Tom Brady or to Patrick Mahomes, it's okay. Something that is a negative for me that I kind of saw. I saw it was in a press conference after a practice or something, or maybe a game, and somebody mentioned Hassan Reddick and how well of a season he was having. And then Jonathan Gannon replied, to which he would probably have about 25 sacks right now if I didn't drop him in coverage so much.
It's a little tongue in cheek there. Obviously, he's joking around,
but
obviously,
still, that's something as I dug around on him. That's something I saw that were complaints, mostly from Eagles fans on Twitter. This is a big issue that I saw, is that he pulls back pass rushers. And
I think a lot of what the casual fan, anytime they see one of those outside linebackers drop back, what the fuck are we doing here? Chandler Jones, obviously, we saw, and he did it too much. That's obvious. We saw it time and time again. And I don't know if that's the case or what happened with the Eagles. I would highly doubt it if they got 70 sacks on the season. But Hassan Reddick is going to drop back once or twice a game. He's not a defensive. He's an outside linebacker. If you're creating and getting different and creating blitzes in weird ways, you're not going to show the same look every time. So there will be the occasional time that he'll drop back just to show a different look, I would imagine. But maybe I need to look into it more. Maybe it happened more than it should have. But what did he end up with? Not to talk about Hassan Reddick again, who had 0 sacks in the Super Bowl at least.
Right.
Bust. 17 and a half or something
right.
this season. Fucking crazy.
I don't know,
but he's got that. Oh, go ahead. I didn't know if you had more on him.
Oh, no, go ahead.
He's just got a little more passion, a little more juice than what I expected. I didn't know much about him. You sent me the Niners clip that I had seen of him on the street with Eagles fans. They've seen him pulling up in the car. I'll put that in here.
Let's fucking go!
But like just that right there, like just we're gonna fucking gut these guys. Like he's got that. They talked about the it factor. Monty Osborne said when he was making that list, and not only does he put together good schemes, but that's what's most important for this team right now. The X's and O's and the schematics and all that, crap is takes a back seat to a guy that's like might sound stupid and cheesy, but like I said earlier, like a leader of men, a motivator, somebody that can put the foot in the ass of some of these guys that need it after 4 training camps of la di da, we're buddies and we're all gonna get through this and we're gonna go out there and try. Like, no, we're gonna get like a boot camp out here and really get this thing going because that's what they need. But I don't know if that's all him,
I
but that's
think
a lot of what I've seen.
just the little bit I've kind of heard about Monty ever since he became the GM. Everything that Jonathan Gannon seems like what Monty, which you kind of, just to kind of piggyback off your point, which you said, seems like what Monty wants and was looking for and what he represents himself. After all the dust is settled and looking back on it, I think it was probably always Jonathan Gannon. I think if it wasn't Sean Payton, it was going to be Jonathan Gannon from the jump. And what kind of backs that in my head is the fact that literally they interviewed him once, right? They had one interview.
Never
and that was
interviewed
it.
him until after the Super Bowl.
I think that
That's
I
what I
mean,
was about to say.
it
Teams
kind of
always
cements
say,
it.
you said it was, I mean, you nailed it. Teams always say, we got our guy, like blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Most teams don't get their guy. Most hiring cycles, there's 1 or 2 that everybody has the top of their list, and not everybody can get those 1 or 2 guys. Cardinals obviously had real interest in Sean Payton, I would imagine. I mean, you meet with him for 7 hours. Sure, they had long interviews with lots of coaches, but I would, that's the one I would bet that they had real interest in. And all along, we're casting that wide net. You started to hear his name, and once I like I said, I wanted Blue. Once his second interview happened, I think on Friday, and then we didn't hear much. It was like, oh, okay, then it's gonna be the Super Bowl guy. Because if
I
you've
think it was
interviewed
always him.
everybody up until then and nobody's wowed you, but you haven't even talked to him yet, then Monty's basing this off his past relationship, and he knows
Right.
if he waits, if he waits for Gannon, he's not going to be burned. That's
Yeah.
the guy he wants. So when you're in hindsight, it all makes way more sense.
It really
now
does.
than-
And something too that I saw a lot on Cardinals Twitter is, why are you hiring a head coach who's a defensive? He's a defensive coach. Whenever you have Kyler Murray who needs to be brought along. Hey man,
talked about
you've
this.
said this 100 times. I'm just gonna kind of reiterate the fact: you're not hiring a coach for Kyler Murray to coach Kyler Murray. You're hiring a coach to coach Isaiah Simmons, to coach Buda Baker, to coach fucking Rondale Moore, to coach. I mean, Zaven
Offensive
Collins.
line,
You're hiring a coach to coach everybody. Like you said, a leader of men. That's what seems like Monty is kind of trying to push. That's the guy he's wanted. That's kind of the culture he's wanted. Not so much a superstar, but more of a super team, like a team together. And I think John Gannon represents that. But to all the people who are saying, why are you not getting an offensive-minded coach whenever you have this quarterback who desperately needs something like that? I think what he desperately more needs more is more of the stern, more of a macho guy's guy, like what Jonathan Gannon is going to bring to the table. That's why I don't think stuff worked with Cliff, because sure, he was a good offensive mind, great offensive mind, but he's not a guy who's going to sit down and hype up and be, he's not Jonathan Gannon. And I think it's a great fit.
I hope so. I don't think that it was that necessarily Cliff wasn't a player's coach or somebody that could fire his team up. It was just, I don't know. There was just a weird disconnect there. I don't know. Maybe there wasn't a relatability. I don't know. He was a young guy, strained, but from what it seems like, Gannon got that out of his guys in Philly. So all we can do now, like I said at the beginning, is kind of sit back and wait. It'd be dumb for us to be slam dunk hire. There we go. We're fucking off to the Super Bowl. We're pumped because we have no idea. We're just going to be optimistic and go from there. I don't know. Like I said, there not much else we can really go into. The OC is going to be very important. I heard Drew Fencing, I believe is his name, Brown's quarterback coach. He had a relationship with him. Gannon had a relationship with him, I think, with the Vikings going back to. So it's good to have a guy that's kind of got some connections. I heard that he's a very smart guy. I think it was Albright who tweeted that out too. He's got like a degree in economics and he's been in the league for a while. So to get him and then bring the Eagles linebackers coach, I've heard, to be his DC, because I don't know what you think, but I don't want him calling plays. We've done the head coach, play caller pairing. I know it was on offense with Cliff. I would prefer. I'm the head coach. I've got my DC. I've got my head coach.
Yep.
You guys call the plays.
I
So
agree.
I forgot what his name. Ryan Wills. Should have came a little more prepared, but he apparently is. One article said he was the defensive Sean McVay, so that's pretty high praise. Young guy, or that's pretty high McPraise. I said, what is his name? McDonald's, dude.
That's Mick
Ba
crazy.
ba ba ba. Anyway, apparently very smart guy. If we can bring him over as a head coach too, that would be something. But now we just sit and wait, let the staff get built, and then fix this fucking roster and go from there. Draft, free agency, all that. I guess anything else on coaching hire, coaching search? We didn't
No,
really. We
I'm
never
overall
got
happy
into
with it.
Mike Kafka much. Did we even talk? I think he was on the cover of our last episode, so I guess we talked on him a little bit. But I didn't ever. I guess his name got thrown around in the mix there as like the only other offensive guy. Like, and then, I think that was just we're gonna fill our quota on offense and defense.
Yeah.
Oh, you're an offense. Well, come on, let's see what you got going on. But I'm sure he'll be head coach eventually under that Andy Reid tree if he keeps doing shit with Daniel Jones. But I guess we can jump into the Super Bowl if you got no more Cardinal talk for now.
Let's do it.
Chiefs 38, Eagles 35. Eagles fucking dominated that game. Is that weird to say? I know it seemed like they controlled obviously a little further. It just seemed like they had control of the line up front. Like the first half, they dominated. It was only even remotely close in the first half because of that fumble return for a touchdown. And it just felt like they had it the whole time. But that's what I told our buddy who's a Patriots fan, like, this is what it felt like watching those Patriots teams when they had Tom Brady. They would play a team deep in the playoffs where it felt like they were getting dominated, and then you look up, they're only down 3. Then you look up, and holy shit, it's the end of the game. They won because that's just what they did. They were winners, and they won in the playoffs. And it seems like that's what the Chiefs are going to be. 5 straight AFC championships now, 2 Super Bowls in 4 years. Like, we're watching what's gonna be the chase on Tom Brady for the next 15 years, which I think you said he's the greatest quarterback ever earlier, which is insane. I told him, Mahomes has to win 6 for it even to be a conversation. And we got 4 more to go before that comes. But what did you think of the game overall?
I was just glad it was a fun, good game. I feel like we haven't had a good Super Bowl in a while. High scoring, especially that first half, it was nuts. The Eagles got the ball first, Chiefs deferred. Eagles went right down the field, easy, super. Easiest drive of all time. Chiefs got the ball back and made it look even easier. It was enjoyable game to watch, which is what I was really after.
One of the better Super Bowls in a little while, I thought.
Yeah, I think it was one of the best. Yeah, best one in the past couple of years.
Prop
Andy
bets, what'd
Reid
you
put on
have?
a clinic. Bets.
Prop bets, what'd you have?
I had Mahomes over 1.5 touchdown passes. I had what's his name? Kadarius Toney to catch a touchdown pass anytime and to get over 19.5 yards.
That's right. And I'll get into my bets. We were there. We went to a local bar with our buddies at 12:30, and the game started at 5:30, I guess, Arizona time or St. Louis time. So there for a while. By the time the game started, or by the end of the game, little brother Garrett was pretty drunk. We'll put that clip in here.
Look at him, he's fresh! Get him out there!
Guys,
We'll put that clip in here. But he was fighting hard for that Kadarius Toney. He had the yards and anytime touchdown score. When he scored that touchdown,
oh, that fucking rule!
It's up screaming, bro. Let's go, high fiving everybody in the bar. I was like, that's all. Okay, so he had how many yards did he have before that? That was his first catch. So he got the hard part, the touchdown out of the way, 5-yard touchdown, and then he ended up
last catch of the game.
Yards. Didn't get another catch. So
last catch of the game.
All that hype for 5 yards, and then
God damn it, that felt so good though. That was so damn fun.
You were very excited.
That was so fucking fun. That was awesome. I also had Chiefs money line, easiest bet of all time.
Super easy.
Yeah, I also had tails in the coin toss. So I
Oh, that's
started
right.
off
That was a
good.
big moment as well. Yeah.
Yep. You know, I think that's one of the most underplayed bets of the Super Bowl. Because if you hit that to start,
Just
I mean, you're both like you're hot. I mean, you
50-50
automatically set
shot.
the tone. Yep, that's
50-50
right.
shot. I had I was down. I've been down all season, but I was like, I'm just gonna throw in like a $10 small parlay, see what happens. It was $10 for 5 legs. I had Justin Watson, 14.5 receiving yards. He's like their fourth or fifth receiver. That cashed. I had Travis Kelce anytime touchdown, cash. Um, Chiefs plus 7.5 alternate spread cash, over 43.5 alternate total cash. Marquez Valdez Scantling, over 2.5 catches. He finished with 0. So that was the only leg that didn't cash. That would have paid out, I don't know, over $100. But as I'm sitting there before the game, I'm watching the Fox pregame at the bar. I can't even hear it. But they have the 6 analysts or whatever, and they each pick the game. It was Eagles, 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 Eagles. Hold out my phone, $50 parlay, Chiefs money line with Mahomes MVP and that cash. Because I wasn't going to bet the game at all before, but I seen that I was like, you got to do it. Just
Mhm.
because you know you're going to see that screenshot on Twitter after the game. You can see the future in that moment, and I saw it. But yeah, it was a really awesome game. It was a really cool game for like a bar setting. Like
Yeah,
we
it
had
was fun. Yeah,
we had a couple like good catch debates, like
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
no the foot. No, he didn't have control. He had the ball moved when it hit the ground. We had the holding
The
call
hold.
that had the whole
Yeah,
bar uh, arguing and loud as well. We had a
all
good mix
time
of
bar game.
people, good
All
mix of
time.
people on Eagles and
Yep.
Chiefs. It was great. Riri got the people going at
Yep.
halftime.
Except she
It
didn't show
was
enough skin because she was pregnant, so it's okay.
That's right. And I don't. A lot of people were slow on that where we're at. I
Yeah,
think we just.
yeah.
I don't know. Like
I mean, do you think Rihanna would like look that fat like performing at the Super Bowl? Like, what makes you like how? Like, I don't know. I immediately saw her. I was like, yeah, she's pregnant, obviously,
yeah, no
but you
shit.
know, think
But
Rihanna's gonna
yeah,
be having that big of a beer gut? Our father-sized beer gut performing at the Super Bowl? No,
yeah.
she won't.
Dad was the biggest Eagles fan of the night. He lost his
Yep,
bet.
he
He
lost
was
as he should.
huge on the Eagles. They might win by 100. It's just gonna be. And it felt bad. I told him at the end. I was like, the sucky part is you were kind of. I mean, you were right. They were the better football. Jalen Hurts played awesome.
Which is
Like they were
honestly like the
dominating.
worst thing to
The
say to
worst
someone who
way.
just lost a bet.
The
Like
worst
that's
way.
the worst thing to
I'd
say to
rather
somebody.
lose by
You know,
100.
you know what? You were pretty right, actually. You were kind of right. That's like the worst thing to say. I was high on the Chiefs all week. I was high on them in the AFC Championship. I was high. I thought they were going to absolutely blow them out. They didn't blow them out. It was quite the opposite.
Quite the opposite of that.
But you bet money line. Hell, I mean, they were underdogs. I think you were saying this on Sunday after you placed the bet
Yeah.
whenever you saw
It's
all
like
6 Eagles.
I was like, imagine in 5 years from now, looking back and thinking that Patrick Mahomes was an underdog in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like imagine skipping that opportunity. It's like I did the Patriots, Tom Brady earlier. Anytime you bet against them and you lost, you just felt like the biggest dumbass in the world. You were like, God damn it, you talk yourself into whoever, the Falcons or the Seahawks, whatever team they were playing, and be like, okay, this will be the time they'll lose, and then they don't, and they keep moving on, and then you're like, fuck, I feel like a dumbass. Kind of same thing with Saban in Alabama a little bit. It's like you see the greatness, and I'd rather be the person that bets on them and fails than bet on them to fail, and then maybe I'm right 1 out of 4 times or whatever. It just didn't make sense to me to I was either not going to bet it or I was going to bet the Chiefs. So
Yeah, that's kind of yeah. Embrace debate. If Mahomes retired today, he'd be a Hall of Famer, right?
yeah. I don't know about first ballot because if he just decided to walk away out of nowhere, if it was like an ankle or his fucking leg fell off, I don't know if they would put him in because he was only in the league for 5 years. But I do think he'd get in second or third try. I don't think 2 MVPs, 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 first team All Pro. I don't think you could.
5
No,
straight
I don't
AFC
think it's even a
Championship
question.
appearances.
It's not even
Oh
a
yeah.
question.
No, I don't think it is either.
I tweeted something out earlier. I didn't really get any backlash, but so maybe a little more Cardinal stuff to close. If Kyler Murray is healthy, since we're kind of talking about how good Jalen Hurts is, I think Jalen Hurts is kind of the clear-cut number one NFC quarterback right now. That's kind of he's the best quarterback in the NFC. Is Kyler number two when at his peak? Is he right next to him?
I think if you're talking at his peak, then I think he's better than Jalen Hurts is.
Nah.
I think at his peak,
Jalen Hurts just finished second in MVP voting and had his team like right
in
there.
a
to
week.
He looked. He played better than Patrick Mahomes in that game.
Yeah, you're right. I'm being a hater. Yeah, I'd
Yeah, you
say
are.
he'd be number two. I'm being a hater. I think
the
I don't
really
know.
only question.
It's so
this is how
weird to
weak
say.
the NFC. This is how weak the NFC is. The only questionable one is like Dak, Kirk Cousins.
I mean, Rodgers, I guess you're
Justin
not counting in
Fields.
that anymore, are you?
I'm not really counting, even if you count Rodgers.
Yeah.
Over what he did, like
I would put Rodgers.
Justin
Well, I
Fields,
guess this.
Dak,
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones, Geno. Like, are you Kyler at his
Rockford.
peak is 7-0. Like that's like MVP favorite is Kyler at his peak. I think I would take Kyler over everybody besides Hurts.
Yeah, I think so too.
And fuck, maybe even Hurts, like you said, at times. Of being kind of a homer, a little biased, maybe a hater.
Well, I think the Hail Mary at the end of the game that Hurts Drew kind of woof.
That was it had to have slipped a little bit. Like that was so flat. Like I didn't think he could even I don't know who could Mahomes maybe could have got to the end zone. They were at their own like 30 or whatever. That's like a 70-yard bomb.
It was almost like a joke. It was funny.
Yeah, it was.
That was funny. But no, I think I definitely probably take Kyler over everybody you just said except Hurts right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought that was kind of an interesting because when I was thinking
I mean,
about
it's just weak.
like,
I didn't. Whenever you put it like that, you don't really unless you put it like that, you don't realize how weak the NFC is quarterback talent.
Oh, it's terrible. That's why I mean in the tweet I said, I mean, this is Jalen Hurts is the clear-cut best quarterback in the NFC, and everything after that is like pretty fucking mid. So you have to try and get this thing flipped as quick as possible so you can take advantage of it. Over in the AFC, Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, fucking Herbert.
Who shouldn't count because he sucks.
I like him.
And I'll always
Russell
say
Wilson
on
might
that.
get his shit together. Aaron Rodgers might be headed over. There's so many young Lamar Jackson. I'm gonna forget something. There's everything is over there, and we've got fucking cake in the NFC. It's insane why Sean Payton wouldn't want to be in the NFC. But I digress. We got John Gannon, the best thing anyway. So,
Yep.
Anything else we wanted to get into before we hang it up?
I don't think so.
That'd be it. Still trying to work on plans for the draft. We're gonna be there, trying to figure out what exactly we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be vlogging, deciding on what we're gonna do on top of that. If we do a live podcast or not, we'll see. After this, I mean, we got draft coverage coming up.
I imagine we'll probably do like but before we get to Kansas City, we'll probably record an episode with an actual sit down draft preview.
Yeah, we might do one or two of them.
Yeah, and then yeah, we'll have the actual draft itself, and then yeah,
the uniforms
couple
come out in April, so
will come out. They will come out.
But yeah, that's about all we got. Just wanted to get in here and talk about our new leader. Don't forget it. Yeah, so that's it. Any news breaks, any trades, maybe a Hopkins, who knows? We'll hop on here and talk about it. But other than that, we're not going to get on here 5 days a week and talk about stuff when there's nothing to talk about. So see you in 2 weeks, see you in a month. Who knows? Until then, go Birds.